Israel today unleashed a barrage of airstrikes on Lebanon and the Gaza Strip in retaliation after rockets from southern Lebanon hit Israeli territory yesterday. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tonight is calling on reserve forces on Israel's border police to stand ready after a terror incident in Tel Aviv. Authorities say a man drove his car into a group of people there, killing an Italian tourist and wounding several others. Hours earlier, 2 Israeli sisters were killed in a Palestinian shooting attack near a settlement on the West Bank. No group immediately claimed responsibility for either attack. This current round of violence erupted 2 days ago after Israeli police raided the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, one of the most sacred sites in the Muslim religion. To talk more about where this all might lead, I'm joined now by Ambassador John Bolton, former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and former national security advisor in the Trump White House. Ambassador, good to have you here. These attacks and exchange of rocket airstrikes it's the worst since 2006, all comes as Israel is gripped in its biggest domestic crisis in decades. Is this coincident? Is it related in any way?
Well, I think it's probably related. Obviously, these rocket attacks intended to coincide with Passover being celebrated in Israel now, and not uncommon to have some kind of provocation, usually nothing like this, but it's the fact of the rocket attacks, the terrorist attacks that you just mentioned, the rioting on the Temple Mount. It just looks like a lot of moving parts to the Israelis, and of course at the top of their priority list is their concern about Iran's nuclear weapons program. So there's a lot of outside pressure, but as you mentioned as well, a lot of inside domestic turmoil. So the terrorists, the Iranians, others could well see this as an opportune moment to strike.
Right. There have been so many demonstrations in Israel. We had recently some Israeli reservists threaten to fail to show up to duty, to boycott duty, in essence, as a result of Benjamin Netanyahu trying to do this judicial overhaul and reform in Israel. Now, tonight, we have Netanyahu calling on those reservists to be on standby. I'm assuming, are you assuming that they will all, in fact, report for duty if called?
Well, there were a number of reserve units called up yesterday, and I'm not aware of any who didn't. I mean, being a reservist is a dual status, obviously. You're a citizen, you have your First Amendment rights, well, not in Israel, but they have the right to free speech. But when you're called to duty, then you're being transformed from a civilian into a service member, and I think the determination of some reservists not to show up really was a breach of their responsibility. I think in the face of these real attacks, as I say, I haven't heard of any resistance to it. We'll have to see how it develops.
Any idea who's behind the attacks on the West Bank and in Tel Aviv today? I mean, Hamas did celebrate it online, but did not claim responsibility.
Yeah, I think it could be even more radical terrorist groups. It is unusual not to have a claim of responsibility. But look, a lot of this, whether it's Hezbollah, Hamas, or other groups in and around Israel, the sponsor is typically Iran, sometimes Syria. So these are the external state enemies of Israel using the terrorists for their surrogate purposes.
This is all happening as the defense minister was fired by Prime Minister Netanyahu. Who's in control? Who's calling the shots over there?
Well, Netanyahu is. The defense minister is still in place. Whether he'll actually be formally fired remains to be seen. But Bibi Netanyahu, of all the Israeli political leaders, because of the length of his time in office, time in politics, knows the security situation internally and externally in Israel probably better than anybody else. And obviously, the final decisions are his, and I think he's very actively calling the shots.
How worried should we, as their biggest ally and most important supporter on the world stage, be, given all this chaos and violence?
Well, I think there's nothing that the Iranians in particular would like to see better than Israel disabled from taking action if it wanted to do so against the Iranian nuclear program. And I think that points really to the kind of crisis we're seeing unfold in Iran, the threat to that regime from the resistance following the murder of Mahsa Amini over 6 months ago now. for failing to wear the hijab as the Ayatollahs prescribe. Iran very actively working with Russia, selling them drones to be used in the war in Ukraine. Geopolitics is sometimes moves slowly. Right now it's moving very fast, and a lot of the focus remains on the Middle East.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.